Intelligence does not inoculate against misconduct. In many corporate fraud cases, the individuals involved are not careless or incompetent. They are often high performers, technically skilled, and deeply trusted. The unsettling reality is that competence can make fraud easier to conceal. The same analytical ability that drives results can also identify weaknesses in oversight. The question is not why unqualified employees commit fraud. It is why capable ones do. Corporate fraud rarely begins with an obvious villain. More often, it involves someone who understands the system well enough to navigate around it. That familiarity, combined with pressure and opportunity, creates risk in places organizations least expect it. This matters because the consequences extend beyond financial loss. Fraud damages reputations, erodes internal trust, and signals deeper governance failures. When a trusted employee is exposed, the organization is forced to confront not just individual misconduct, but structural weakness. High performers are frequently granted autonomy. They are fast-tracked, given broader access, and subject to less scrutiny. Their success becomes part of the organization's identity. That success can unintentionally shield them from the kind of challenge that controls are designed to provide. To understand why this happens, it helps to revisit a foundational concept. The fraud triangle describes three conditions that increase the likelihood of misconduct: pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. These elements remain relevant, but they operate differently in modern corporate environments. Pressure is no longer limited to financial distress. It often appears as performance expectations, competitive targets, or reputational stakes. An executive facing aggressive revenue goals may experience intense psychological pressure, even if financially secure. Opportunity emerges through access and complexity. In highly digitized organizations, employees can control systems, data flows, or approval pathways with minimal visibility from others. Segregation of duties may exist on paper, yet practical oversight can weaken over time. Rationalization is the quiet internal dialogue that justifies behavior. It may sound like, "This is temporary," or "I'm protecting the company from a worse outcome." For high performers, rationalization can be framed as strategic necessity rather than personal gain. The fraud triangle does not imply inevitability. It highlights how environmental factors interact with human psychology. Intelligence does not eliminate these forces. In some cases, it enhances them. Overconfidence and entitlement. High-performing employees are often accustomed to being right. Their judgment is validated repeatedly through promotions, bonuses, and recognition. Over time, this can create subtle overconfidence. Overconfidence distorts risk perception. When someone believes they understand the system completely, they may also believe they can control the consequences of bending it. This sense of mastery reduces perceived danger. Entitlement can follow. An employee who generates significant revenue or delivers critical projects may begin to feel indispensable. That perceived indispensability can weaken internal restraint. This is rarely expressed openly. It is gradual and internal. The belief becomes, "The organization depends on me," which can quietly shift to, "The rules are less applicable to me." In such environments, controls may still exist, but challenge decreases. Colleagues hesitate to question top performers. Managers may avoid confrontation to protect output. Overconfidence does not create fraud alone. It reduces psychological barriers against it. Incentives and cultural drift. Organizations communicate values through incentives. When performance metrics dominate recognition systems, employees internalize what truly matters. If bonuses are tied heavily to revenue growth and ethical conduct is assumed rather than measured, the message becomes clear. Results are visible. Integrity is implicit. Cultural drift occurs when informal norms begin to override formal policies. A small exception to close a deal becomes acceptable. Documentation shortcuts become routine. Controls are seen as obstacles to momentum. Over time, the gap between written policy and lived behavior widens. Employees adapt to what is rewarded, not what is documented. In such environments, misconduct can appear rational. An employee may convince themselves they are acting in the company's best interest by accelerating outcomes or avoiding bureaucratic delay. The organization may not explicitly condone this behavior, yet the incentive structure subtly encourages it. Incremental escalation. Corporate fraud often develops incrementally. It begins with minor deviations that feel harmless. An expense claim adjusted slightly. A revenue recognition timing decision justified as strategic. An override of a system control to fix a temporary issue. When these actions do not trigger immediate consequences, confidence increases. The employee learns that the system can be bent without detection. Each step lowers the psychological threshold for the next. What once felt risky begins to feel manageable. Incremental escalation is particularly dangerous when combined with intelligence. A skilled employee can design layered justifications, obscure audit trails, or manipulate data to avoid scrutiny. By the time the misconduct becomes material, it may have evolved far beyond its original scope. The initial intent may not even resemble the final outcome. Escalation. The deeper systemic issue. At a deeper level, the issue is not individual intelligence. It is organizational signaling. Companies often measure performance rigorously and measure integrity loosely. Revenue targets are tracked daily. Ethical climate is discussed abstractly. When employees observe that high output consistently outweighs minor compliance concerns, a pattern forms. Performance signals are rewarded publicly. Integrity signals are rarely tested until failure occurs. This imbalance creates blind spots. Trusted employees receive less oversight precisely because they are trusted. Intelligence then becomes a tool. It can be used to innovate and strengthen systems, or it can be used to exploit weaknesses that others overlook. Without deliberate counterbalance, organizations unintentionally reward the very traits that increase concealment capability. Practical insight. Businesses often assume that fraud risk lies primarily with disengaged or struggling employees. This assumption is comfortable, but incomplete. High performers require structured oversight just as much as anyone else. Trust should not replace verification. Strong culture alone is insufficient. Culture influences behavior, but structure reinforces it. Controls must function independently of personality or status. Access reviews should be rigorous, even for senior leaders. Approval processes should not weaken in the presence of authority. Ethical metrics should be integrated into performance evaluations, not treated as background assumptions. The objective is not suspicion, it is resilience. When culture and structure coexist effectively, high performers thrive within clear boundaries. Their intelligence strengthens the organization rather than destabilizing it. Smart employees do not commit corporate fraud because they lack understanding. They often understand the system exceptionally well. The risk arises when intelligence intersects with pressure, opportunity, and subtle rationalization. Without structural accountability, capability can become concealment. Integrity is not guaranteed by competence. It is sustained by design. In the end, intelligence does not neutralize risk. Structure and accountability do.